Okay, we should be live. So Chet is my good friend who thought, you know what? Let's put Doug on the hot seat maybe a little bit, or ask him some questions about Christianity that maybe I haven't been asked before, or I don't know. Anyhow, he has 7 questions for me. And I hope they're really, really hard.
Yeah. They're not. They're just stuff I wanted to hear you answer. So I'm trying to pull the. Oh, here we go. I was trying to get the stream up so I can.
And I'm going to
see
try
the chat.
Chet, I'm going to try to answer as succinctly and directly as possible. So this might only last 15 or 7 minutes, 1 minute per question. I'm going to try to model the behavior I desire from theists when asked a question.
That's fine. Well, we'll see if you bloviate. I may have questions that feed off of the other question, you know. Okay. So
yeah, we'll play it by ear.
So
by the way, are we live?
Yeah, I see us anyway.
Okay.
With a few people having a look in. So all right. So
let me take off the glasses and get serious.
Are you ready? Okay. Okay, I have to hold on. I have to arrange my thing because I can't watch the video on YouTube and the one on up here because it's messing with my brain, man. Hold on. All right.
Let me bring up. Let me bring up PineCreek here just in case there's questions that someone else wants to try to.
Well, that's what I say. Yeah, if people have some while we're going along, that would be cool too.
Yeah, and if there's any theists in here, so you get priority. Christian theists or Muslim theists, any no Odin theists.
Okay.
I will not be entertaining questions from Odin theists or Zeus theists. But hang on, let me I apologize. I should have done this earlier. I was torturing Chet earlier because I was engaging with a theist on Twitter and he was just patiently waiting for me. Do we have anybody watching at this hour?
Yeah, there was a few. But I mean, we just started, so maybe some people wander over, but a lot of people are at work, I'm sure.
We have 8. Welcome, guys. Okay, go ahead, Chet.
Okay, so number 1. So when you were a Christian, and for our Calvinist friends, a professing Christian, if someone came to you, let's say you were in your deepest, when you were the deepest involved in your faith, and someone like a Doug comes up to you and starts asking those annoying gotcha trap kind of questions that you always ask, what do you think would have been revealed as your reason for believing? Now, I'll give you a second to think about it by saying, when you talk to people a lot, and when I've talked to people, and over the last year and a half, when we've talked to like hundreds of people, there's always an initial reason that they give for why they believe, but rarely, if ever, is that the real reason they believe. Mm-hmm. There's that sort of veneer of evidentialism or something else over the top of the personal experience at the bottom. So for you, what would your root have been?
So I'm imagining myself talking to myself at the age of 20, 21. That was probably when I was most deeply into it. But I was still a born-again Christian until 35.
Right.
I would have answered, if I was asked the question, why are you a Christian, Doug? I would have said, because I believe the claims of the Gospels. I believe that the tomb was empty. I believe that Jesus rose from the dead. And I believe he fulfilled prophecy. So I would have said all those things that I hear other theists say, other Christians say. But if pressed by this Doug guy, who I hear is very clever and loves these gotcha questions, he would have probed even deeper, and he would ask me, well, when do you remember first being a Christian? And then I would have gone way back to age 6 or 7, and imagine a big, fat, bald preacher in a white church behind a pew where the women sat on one side and the men sat on the other. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not 100% true. It's mostly true. He preached that if I didn't have Jesus in my heart, I was going to hell, and Jesus could return at any second. So this Doug guy who's asking me this question, he would have found out this and said, aha, this is the real reason you're a Christian, Doug, because it all started back then when you were 6 or 7, the fear of hell. And I would have said, yeah, but that maybe got it started, but it is still true because all the evidence and all the research I've done since then has pointed that it's true.
Mm-hmm. So that's what it would have been, just childhood indoctrination, essentially, is what you're saying. There wasn't a personal experience, but you didn't talk to God or hear God or
not
any of that kind of stuff.
No, nothing like that. I've never I can't truly empathize. I can only sympathize with the theists who have had these visions and so forth. The closest I've come is a type of sleep paralysis. I'm thinking of it in hindsight, but at the time I thought I was being pinned down on my bed by the devil.
Oh, okay.
That was that.
Was that as a kid? Or
No. This is at age 19, 20. And I remember praying in the name of Jesus over and over again. Get off me, Satan. And I would quote scripture and in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name, just like a ritual. And it worked. I wasn't paralyzed anymore. And you'll hear common stories like this.
Yeah. Okay. I was curious. Yeah. Because I know we've talked about kind of why you believe. I know you'd mentioned prophecy and stuff before, but I wasn't sure if you had a personal experience like that. So you did have one, but that wasn't really the root of it. So, right. Okay. So let's go to number 2. So what, in your opinion, is the best argument for Christianity being true today?
Okay. What is the best argument?
Yeah, or however you want to say it, apologetic. I don't know. What's the...
I got 2 things floating in my head right now. I think the most powerful reason is the personal experience. That if someone's truly believed that they saw Jesus approach them like, I'm looking at you, they saw him, try to convince that person that what they saw wasn't real or wasn't what they thought it was. So I would say the most powerful reason that many people do believe are these experiences. But of course, I think those reasons are bad, and I won't explain why. But now, if we're just talking non-experiential and more evidential,
sure.
Because of the way history, when it comes to the Bible, has been done, the Christians are right when they say the majority of scholars, I think they're right, majority of scholars say X, like X is the tomb's empty, or that Jesus was crucified, the tomb was empty, and people believe that he rose from the dead. These types of things, I think, atheists would have to concede that, the majority of biblical scholars do believe this. So it's an appeal to authority, and that authority is there and does say these things, but I don't think, I'll give the opposite to it now. I think the majority of this majority sign confessions of faith where they work at universities, Christian colleges, so forth, that if they were to deviate from that, they could lose their job. And I think Cam could talk a long time about this, on why even the methodology might be flawed based on assumptions of one source leading to another source leading to another source. That's all just basically hearsay. So anyhow, cosmologically though, this is not an argument for Christianity, but this is an argument for a God. I think the best argument for God is not the logic one or squared perfect circle one or things like that, but it is the fine-tuning argument.
Okay.
It is amazing that this universe has these constants that we happen to be able to live in. But again, the argument against that is Any universe that has life would say that. And maybe there's other universes with different constants that have life as well, intelligent life. We don't know. Mm-hmm. We don't know what the constants would have to be in order to have where that you have that line between life and no life. And the other argument against it is this God limited, or gods limited to the fine-tuning? Like, why is this an argument for God if God is not bound by these constants? He could have made life with any constant. So it kind of falls on its face. But it is pretty amazing that, you know, if we were a little bit further away from the sun or a little bit closer to the sun, we wouldn't be here.
Right. Well, not as we are now, anyway. Right. Yeah.
I might have more
so
hair.
Fine tuning, you would say you might. Okay, so fine tuning, you think, is the best argument today. So let's move on to this. Will be number 3. Since you work in probabilities, like I do, you tend to go with what's most probable. And I know you've been to a number of different Christian churches and sects and things. So given what you know about it, which branch of Christianity would you say has the most probable chance of being true?
Whoa. That's a great question. Which branch of Christianity? So what you're really asking me is which denomination is most consistent?
Oh, okay. However you want to take it.
That's how I interpret
I'm not. Yeah, that's fine. Interpret it how you want. I don't want to like guide you through it. There's sort of open-ended for you to ponder, to let people see how you think. But I imagine you have some that you think are really off base and some that you think, if they were true, were closer, or do you not see that at all?
No, there's definitely, in my opinion, levels of probability of, like, if there's... The thing that pops into my mind is like these liberal churches who basically make very few claims. So it's hard to pin them down on being inconsistent. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not making solid claims, then you can be very consistent.
Are you talking, when you say liberal church, are you talking like Joel Osteen? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of Christians are going to applaud me for saying this, but Joel Osteen is a wishy-washy Christian. All he talks about is, I don't know, being loving, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
And you know, he's appealing to the masses, and that's why he's wealthy. But he is more of a deistic type Christian. Like, I don't think he really believes the stuff in the Bible. And again, I think a lot of Christians who might be listening to this agree with me. But you would be hard pressed. Like, you know, those series I do, Why I No Longer Go to Church. Realize I've never done one on Joel Osteen, and he's the most popular pastor in the United States. I couldn't even begin to do a critique of Joel Osteen because he doesn't say anything.
Yeah. Well, that was the same thing when I talked to you about the big church here and the young hipster Joel Osteen and the Elevation Church in the area. Remember, you looked at him too, and you're like, he's doing the exact same thing. They put on a show, but there's not much, you know, broad as the ocean, deep as the puddle. Like,
but your question was harder though than that. Your question was, which is the one that's most probably true? Yeah,
and I'm not saying that any of them are, or some of them might be, but based on what you know, they all tend to believe slightly, you know, different things. So, like, I'm just wondering what you think.
Yeah, I honestly believe the concept of the Trinity breaks the law of identity. So that a logical contradiction would not be one that would be probably true. A lot of Christians who believe in the Trinity, you know, they have their ways of explaining it, but they, at the end of the day, admit it's a mystery. But there are Christian denominations that don't believe in the concept of Trinity, like, believe it or not, the Jehovah's Witnesses. In that way, they're more consistent than a lot of evangelical Christian churches. They don't accept the concept of the Trinity. So I would say any denomination that doesn't take the Genesis account literally, I think the evidence is overwhelming that evolution via common descent is true, and it's overwhelming that it's billions of years old. So, yeah, I guess any church that is more deistic, is that a word? Yeah.
So can you name one? Can you name the one that you think, or at least one that would be in your top five? Like, because
Well, I guess Joel Osteen, the one we just mentioned, like my guess is he believes evolution. He doesn't. He believes the Earth is 13.8 billion years old. I don't know where his stance is on the Trinity. I don't even know if he thinks Jesus actually is God. Maybe he even, if when pressed, he might waver on that. Even Mike Brown, the guy I just interviewed, his confidence is different between the resurrection and whether Jesus was God. So he is more almost like the Jehovah's Witnesses in that aspect, where he's not tying the resurrection in with the Trinity as much as some evangelicals. So yeah, any church that basically says, there has to be a God because something can't come from nothing. I believe the universe had a beginning. It just makes more sense, and let's preach love. Maybe that's true.
Okay, fair enough. I know you've had experience with a lot of them. You know the Bible as well as anybody I've ever known. So,
well, no, you know Cam. He knows the Bible way better than me.
True. Yeah, that's true. Cam is.
And I met a new guy in my YouTube comments named Troy who knows the Bible.
Oh yeah, I've seen him commenting too, and he's throwing down some pretty serious stuff there. Like it'd be neat. Maybe you can get him on to talk, because he seems like a very knowledgeable person. So that could be a really cool talk.
Yeah.
All right. So you love Joel Osteen. Now we'll move on to number 4. Okay.
I love you, Joel.
So number 4. So we hear about, when I say people like me and you, it was being atheists. We're threatened constantly with hell and eternal torture, and that, like, this is the most dangerous thing. You're doing this, it's very dangerous. What, in your opinion, is the most dangerous thing about being a Christian?
Oh. Okay, well, the word Christian can mean many different things, but
right, yeah.
The dangerous thing about being a Christian, from, let's say, a conservative, fundamental Christian point of view, is the psychological toll. If you go into the typical Christian home, you will see memes. I'm very confident of this. You will see memes within that home that talk about running the good race, staying vigilant, not giving up, all these types of concepts of press on, because it is difficult. They have way more doubts than they let on. And they realize they have way more questions about, am I doing God's will here? Am I not? What decision do I make here? What decision there? And then in the quietness of their own room at night, they actually believe that there's demons and angels around them that could be attacking them at any moment. That takes a serious toll on the psyche. Now, I'm talking about one type of Christian right now. So if there's Christians saying that, Doug, you're just full of it right now, please no. I'm just talking about a certain type of Christian. And I think that can lead to depression, anxiety, the fear of hell, the fear of demons. It's bad news. And then the other dangers, how one views homosexuals, bisexuals, asexuals, marriage, all these things. Sure, I'm supposed to love them. Love the person, hate the sin. But when you see someone in a lifestyle that you disagree with, you go, ah. It's like they're taking over the country.
Doug, were you homophobic when you were a Christian?
No, but I probably would have not engaged with a homosexual person. Like, if I had a choice, there's a homosexual, Maybe I should
Yeah.
go talk with them. I probably said, no, I don't want to get into that. It makes me too uncomfortable. But it wouldn't, maybe just being uncomfortable makes me a homophobe. I don't know. But yeah, I am way more comfortable as an atheist talking to people who I have no clue of what makes them tick. But I'm just curious, and I feel comfortable, and I'm not threatened in any way to talk with them. And but back then, no, way too uncomfortable. So yeah, that's good. That's a good point you just made. Is like that's one danger is you put yourself in a box that you can't get out of, and that you just yeah.
So you would say that, I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to sort of summarize, but so you would say you get put in a box that you can't get out of because obviously the instructions are limited, right? You have guidelines in the way you're supposed to live your life. And so you can't go outside of that. Not only the way you're supposed to live your life, but the way you're supposed to think. But even within that box, then is a lot of things to make you fearful also at the same time. So not only are you trapped, but you're not happy in your trap. Some people are happy in their trap. So you're saying that the most dangerous thing is that you're not only are you trapped, but you're potentially miserable.
Yeah, potentially miserable. And once you get in the habit of believing things with poor epistemology, and this is my opinion, it flows over in other areas of your life, not just religion. You're more likely to believe, like if you believe in a spiritual world, you might be tempted to go spend money on a psychic. Maybe they've got a tethered line into an angel or a demon, and you really need to know about a loved one who died. You're more likely to waste money on stuff like that. You're more likely to take these principles of poor reasoning to say, oh, you know what? I distrust science, distrust these doctors. Maybe homeopathy is the way to go. And you might waste thousands of dollars on that.
We were at the vet. One of our dogs was having some issues the other day, and he does regular stuff, but he started talking to Jess about essential oils.
Oh,
like do this, and I was just in there like, oh. And I kind of let it go, but then she knew. She looked at me like, oh, Chet is hating this right now. Like, yeah. So, but I mean, there was a vet clinic here that I actually engaged with on Facebook they're anti-vax veterinarians
one,
now.
yeah. But you know
So
the I'll just stereotype the far right wing evangelicals in this country do share some things in common with the far left. Like a lot of far lefties are anti-vax too.
Yeah, if you get far anywhere,
anti-GMOs is another example.
It's probably not great to be far anything. Yeah. So okay, so that was number 4. So we're on to number 5 already. So I kind of struggled with how to word this or how to get it across.
Give it to me straight, Coach. Give it to me straight.
So we're sticking with Christianity today because that's most of who we talk to and who you talk to on here. So consider this as the Christian God. So if someone were to argue to you that there is a God, it's the Christian God that created everything, in Genesis and all that, but they took out the part about him being all-knowing and said he's all-powerful, but he's dumb. He's dumb as shit. Would that make the Christian story more believable to you?
Yeah. Everything would make sense.
That's okay.
Because if you have this all-powerful being who can create a world, but is dumb, not that bright, that explains the flaws in intelligent design. That explains the flaws in the Bible, and that explains the problem of foreknowledge and free will. A lot of problems go away if this God is not the sharpest God in the drawer.
Yeah, because we have to say that it's possible for there to be a God that is dumb. Like that is one of the possibilities.
You're channeling Mr. Deity right now from his.
Am I? Oh, I don't.
Yeah,
I know who that is, but I don't think
Mr.
I've
Deity
maybe watched a video or two.
yeah, for people who don't know, go see Mr. Deity's channel. But his early work basically portrays Yahweh. They call him El, E-L.
Okay.
Portrays Yahweh as a low IQ, slightly effeminate
Oh.
God.
Okay. Yeah, I was not aware of that, but that would be interesting to see. So okay, that was simple enough. But yeah, I thought that too. I thought it too when I thought of that question. Was like, yeah, then I can understand like why certain animals are a certain way. Like why do we have things in our human bodies that are really not good for us?
By the way,
Like,
do you hear the gardener out there?
I don't.
Okay, good.
Um, okay, so you would be more likely to believe if a preacher came and said, "My God is dumb."
Yeah, so this is like
Okay.
a inside view of how to convert me.
Okay. All right. We're on number 6 then. So with what you know and what you've learned about all the various religions and faiths in the world, of which there are many, we're going to go hypothetical here. If you can do that, Doug. I know that's hard for you, but we're going to try. So if you had to join any religion tomorrow, and what I mean by join is be fully committed to it, including performing all of whatever rituals they require, any sort of dress code, all that stuff, fully into it. You had to join it tomorrow, be in it for the rest of your life. Which one would you choose and why?
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. I would join the religion of scientism, not Scientology. Dawkins and Harris. Like, I've been told that is a religion. And from what I know, call me crazy, but I'm going to pick the religion that saves the most lives and does the most goodness to mankind. And yeah, so.
Okay, I feel like maybe you're tap
That was a
dancing
cop-out,
or
yes.
deflecting a bit here, Doug.
But I make a good point.
Yeah, no, I understand.
If atheists out there, if any Christian or Muslim accuse you of being in a religion of science, don't fight it. Embrace it. Say yes. And as a religious member in the Church of Science, please respect my right to proselytize, evangelize, and worship in a way I feel suits me. And you'll see the conversation will just fizzle out. And they know you're joking, but it will just, and they'll probably laugh, maybe just a little bit. Anyhow, let me think about it. Jainism comes to mind. Although I don't know that much about it.
I mean, that requires a lot. Like, you're trying to not ever kill anything. Like, they sweep the sidewalk in front of them so they don't step on anything. Because I'm not talking about half-assing anything. Whatever you're in, you gotta go monk level on whatever you're in.
Okay, well, you make a good point. But I'm not as lazy as you, Chet. So maybe I would.
Yeah, obviously. I wouldn't put that kind of pressure on you, Doug.
Islam is definitely out. Christianity has huge advantages over Islam. Muslims have to pray 5 times a day. Christians just pray without ceasing, but they don't have to go to a certain place. Judaism, no, that's too restrictive. Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, no. It would have to be I would have to find some really cultish. You're not going to accept the Dudism, are you?
Not really. I mean,
what was the name of that movie?
The Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski, yeah. But that's a good question. I don't know. If I was forced to be a member of a religion...
people are saying in the comments that humanism is governmentally recognized.
Oh.
And somebody mentioned, a couple different people mentioned it, I see. You can be an atheist and be a Buddhist.
That's true. I guess, but going back to your other question, and I answered Joel Osteen's church, that type of
Oh
Christian.
yeah.
Basically, you really don't have to believe much and don't have to do much. All you have
Okay.
to do is say Jesus died for my sins, rose the third day, and do whatever else pleases you. Freedom in Christ. So maybe I would become a Christian just for ease, but I wouldn't be a true Christian to 90% of Christians. But
People with comments. It's always mentioned. Ash makes a good point. You could be a Satanist.
oh, you know what?
And
That's a good point, Ash.
I like logic beats speculations comment too. But yeah, that is a good point. I didn't even think of
I
that.
didn't even consider that, and this is what is so hilarious to me.
Who's trying to jump in?
Let me lock it.
Okay.
What's hilarious to me is Christians, Muslims, and Jews get well, maybe not the Jews so much, but they get really uptight when they see someone who identifies as a Satanist, and they don't realize, and I'm making an assumption here, but they don't realize that the vast majority of them don't believe in any spiritual world at all, and that and it's more of a philosophy of life. I dare any Christian to go to the satanic website and read the statement of beliefs, and with an open mind, you're going to see that you're going to agree with. I think there's 9 points. I think you're going to agree with all 9.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I've read it before, but I don't remember how many points. But yeah, so you think that's what you'd go with that? You think you'd become a Satanist if you had to be one?
I think if I could join the satanic church and get a fancy necklace like Odin has.
I think we've
I'm not
seen
Odin,
you
I'm Ocean.
like we've seen you in eyeliner and stuff though, so it might be. And you looked all right in it. I remember. So that might be a good look for you.
I lost the bet. I had to do it.
Now I want to see Satanist Doug sometime, like full regalia. That would be an interesting look.
My wife might watch this and be very fearful.
And then we won't be friends anymore. Okay, so I guess that's what is that what you want to go with? We'll say Satanist.
Yeah, either. Oh, I got a perfect answer. It's a toss-up between
Okay.
Joel Osteen's church and the Satanic Church.
Okay, flip a coin.
To me, they're about the same.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
All right.
That's fun.
Fair enough. All right. We're on to number 7 already. So, with all we've talked about the ups and downs and what's more probable and so on and so forth, I want to know if you did an L. Ron Hubbard kind of thing and decided you were going to start a religion today. I want to know, how would you go about it? Like, what sort of claims would you make? How would you structure it? Would there be like a grand wizard, type of thing? And like, what sort of things would you do to motivate people to believe in it? So there's a lot to that question, but so if you wanted to start one,
what would be the goal of the church or the religion?
Well, yeah, that would really be up to you. Yeah, are you trying to what? Yeah, okay, I mean, yeah. because that's what right. If we look at basically every religion, the religion says, "Hey, I know you think you're fine, but you have a problem." And guess who has the answer to that problem? We have the answer to that problem, and we're the only ones that have an answer to that problem.
Yeah.
So that's how they motivate most people. So yeah, that's sort of.
Well, no, I think it even goes deeper than that. A religion's existence is based on 2 things.
Okay.
Adherents coming in and adherents going out.
Mm-hmm.
If the latter is bigger than the former, the religion dies. So the first priority of any religion is making sure that either through procreation or proselytization, it grows. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. Right. And so I would put in things in my religion that would safeguard critical analysis of it. So basically, don't listen to those people out there who are criticizing our religion. They're lost. We have the light; they're in darkness. So you have to emphasize that you can't really take what they say seriously because they just can't see clearly like you can. And I would stifle doubt as much as possible. Like, yes, doubt is normal, but you can overcome it by taking captive these thoughts. You realize if there's Christians watching, they're going to see a parallel very quickly. And I would arrange for very smart people to help those who might consider leaving, to keep them in there. And I would probably call them apologists would be a good word, to give them confidence to stay in the belief system. Now, again, the apologist's job is not to get new converts. It's just to keep the fold. I probably would encourage procreation if my goal is to keep the religion growing. So I would say something like, I don't know, maybe be fruitful and multiply.
Mm-hmm. But okay.
And then last thing. I would have huge rewards for staying in the religion and huge punishments for leaving. Something akin to heaven and hell, something like that.
Mm-hmm. But what about the actual? Would you have a God? Or
yes.
And what sort of features would that God have?
You have to have some unknown entity that can't be falsified. So God fits that. Mm-hmm. Because, who can understand the mind of a God? So if, you have questions or problems, you can chalk it up to mystery. So I think a God concept is important.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other question?
Well, let me see what
the
I
nature
have.
of that God.
Yeah. Well, and there's a few other ones too. Yeah, if you want to think about that for a minute, like I'm wondering if you're gonna are you gonna tell people they need to pray and speak to this God, or would you do it like have a Pope figure that only the Pope has the red phone,
Well, yeah, that's a really good question, because if I wanted to make more money in this religion personally, I would go with the latter, like what the Roman Catholics do.
Mm-hmm.
But if I wanted to keep adherents and have them more passionate, I would want to go the Protestant type route. Because, if you inconvenience people too much, like if they have to get in a car to go somewhere to talk to a elder priest or whatever to
go to confession or whatever.
Yeah. So I would want to keep it still simple.
Okay.
So, but if your goal is to build an empire, I think the Roman Catholics have shown that model works well.
Yeah, well, yeah, they've done well with it. Yeah. What sort of claims would you make, about your religion? So we know claims of Christianity, you get to go to heaven and not go to hell, and you can, be saved and all this sort of thing. Is that?
Oh yeah, whatever claim I would make, I would think hard and deeply about. That was bad phrasing, but you have to appeal to the base nature of the Homo sapien.
Okay.
And many humans do not do well with uncertainty, so you have to give them certainty. Fear is a strong, powerful emotion, so you do need some type of claim or belief that has a stick behind it, like something that can damage you, but again, a great reward at the end. So the claims would have to be something like, if you believe X, Y is certain. People love that. People love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Certainty gives, it's like, it feels so good, certainty. I just want to take a bath in all my certainty. Maybe I should come up with a bubble bath called certainty.
Um, would you make claims of being able to heal the sick?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because in the age, it worked like for the olden times for the other religions, but it's not working out so well for them now when everybody has a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, if I had to start the religion now, no, I wouldn't make, I would be more like the Christian cessationalists who don't believe in miracles anymore.
Well,
Or,
I was going to say miracles were going to be the next
it's
thing.
too
Yeah.
easily falsified. So you're better off keeping that very nebulous and saying, you know what, these things, you want to still give them hope that the religion can provide this for you,
Mm-hmm.
but it will work out in the end no matter what happens. So, you don't need this type of miracle.
Okay. So
And I would have an afterlife because fear of death is a primal thing.
now, what about a text? Would you have a public text, like one that was distributed, or would you say
No.
we have like, right? So
See,
how would you handle that? Like the actual doctrine?
the doctrine would not be in text form. It would be video format. I would have my own YouTube channel.
Okay.
Text is so
Mm-hmm.
80s. It's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of every century of 80s. Yeah, and I probably would be the lead spokesman behind the camera, and maybe you and Cam could join me once in a while. And
Well, no, I mean, I just wonder because it could be a way of maintaining power by saying I have the higher up books, and BJ is just saying it in the, like Scientology, they have, you're not supposed to, till your OT level, whatever, then you get more of the information. But it's not
no,
in
see,
Dianetics, and it's not in that kind of stuff. So, and like they say, the Vatican has so many things locked away.
yeah,
I don't know if that's if you would use that as a means of getting people, or it's like, well, even like the Mormons have the elders that supposedly have a direct connection, to information that normal Mormons don't. Is that something you think? I'm asking. I'll let you think about it, but I'm asking because it's so easy now. We have the text of the Bible that it can just be torn apart.
right. That's the downside of having any type of textual type claims written down.
Mm-hmm.
You got interpretation problems, which might
Mm-hmm.
lead to people leaving the religion, and you don't want that. You have,
Mm-hmm.
in the case of Scientology, it was a great system for Hubbard back in the day, but now with the
Mm-hmm.
internet, people can give their testimonies of what they went all the way to the top, and they can tell people, this is what I found.
Yeah.
So if you keep the religion nebulous enough that you can convince the people that the core propositions are true, but keep it as vague as possible, it's really hard to knock it. So maybe like what the Calvinists do, there just has to be a God because of things like logic and morality. That makes sense, right?
Oh, so you think a presuppositional approach is because it's kind of
Yeah,
unassailable
it's
in a way.
unassailable. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of tickle the fancy of their primal needs, and then
Mm-hmm.
their defense of it is an axiom.
Right.
You're golden. And I've just described Calvinism. They get their certainty, they get their
Yeah.
afterlife, they get their explanation for first cause, and they don't have to defend it.
Would you require a gathering? So not require, but people are encouraged to attend churches and mosques and temples
Yes.
and different things. Would you?
Yeah.
You would encourage that. You would make that as part of it.
Yes.
Why would you make that a part of your religion?
Because community is key. If you're a lone
Okay.
wolf, the higher probability you're going to leave the religion. So you have to keep people together as a community, and try to build up the confirmation bias as much as possible. We accept questions in my religion, but we need at least the vast majority to toe the party line, and that works best in close community groups.
Okay. I think one last question. So,
Man,
because
this
I'm
is
not sure
damning to the religion.
I'm part of it, but so would you have a power structure in terms of pastors, reverends, cardinals,
Yes.
or so you would have something like that. So because I don't like Quakers, they don't really have a power structure, do they? Don't they
No, they
just
have
sort of
elders.
sit? They do have elders.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was wrong on that. So I think all of them do, but to different degrees. Obviously the Roman Catholics they're like the military essentially. Yep. They have all different degrees, but then you have lesser and greater. So what would you think would be the optimal structure?
I think most people would appreciate not a dictator type guy or girl or woman or man, but a panel of, well, I guess what you call elders with a chairman, like what corporations have. And then, upper management, middle management. But you need that structure of authority, because authority is one of the key attributes for people who have a deeply held belief. And the reason I think for that is to think that there's someone that you can go to that knows more than you or has that authority over you gives you certainty, gives you comfort. And so I think an authority type structure helps more people than not. You're always going to have your mavericks in the world. And so, but.
Okay. So maybe not the one top guy like a pope that supposedly has the direct line, but some sort of structure. But you want the people to believe that they can connect with your religion's God directly, though.
Yeah, I want, if I start a religion, I would want my members to say, you know who I talked to the other day? The head of the church in California. And I was so honored that I could talk with him. Look, I took a picture with this guy, and you see Christians today who get pictures with their favorite apologist. I'm talking to you, Chris. Where they feel honored to, have these relationships with these authority figures. And it helps build themselves up, build up their confidence and their faith. Yeah, so I think I would include that as well.
Oh, that's good. That's a good question from Troy in the chat. But go and answer that, and then I have another one too on this. It's interesting to hear how you would put something together.
No, his Troy's question is, will your ideal religion save everyone? Of course not. If you have a religion that saves everyone, it's a worthless religion. To quote the famous movie The Incredibles by Pixar, if everyone is incredible, no one is. So you have to have a religious system that excludes people. And that's sheer exclusion makes those in the included group more valuable, more precious, more chosen.
See, that feeds into the question I had: is in your religion, first of all, would men and women be treated equally?
Oof.
Now, remember, your goal here is
my goal is to keep adherence.
Yeah.
I think yes. Because again, the assumption is the religion starts today, not like back in, 100 years ago or whatever. So
no, you're starting it today. You know the mistakes the other religions have made, the ones that have fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, and if I'm to take any examples from, let's say, Christianity, there are Christian women who have doubted what Paul has said. And of course, other Christians say, oh, you're just misinterpreting it, of course. But it does cause them to doubt and may lead them to leave the religion. And if I'm starting a religion, I don't want that. So you do want to keep then the sexes as equal as possible, not in roles per se, but in, of course, values and church, well, maybe in roles as well. like church functions, definitely. I would want to see 3 women and 3 men on that top board. Yeah, I think that would be best to keep the membership flowing in today's society.
Okay.
Although there's a lot of chauvinist guys still out there, so maybe not. I don't know.
Well, this sort of, I mean, this feeds into, how are you going? You said some people need to be excluded. Like, who's that? Is that still homosexuals, or who's excluded? If you're treating men and women equally, then okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who would you elect to say, well, no, they can't be here?
The troublemakers, the ones who don't believe the core propositions, the ones that don't come to church regularly, the ones that are not adding to the growth of the religion. So, but what certain rules, like, do I take the Christian stance and just make it based on belief? Do I take the Muslim stance and base it on works?
People are saying exclude left-handed people, exclude the poor. That's what I'm wondering. You said that some people need to be excluded, but what you're saying is pretty vague. Do you want to stay vague on?
I think it's safe to exclude Canadians.
Okay.
Because seriously, well, but then again, we need some comedy during the services, and Canadians are good at comedy. So maybe.
Doug, you're not answering the question, Doug.
Who am I going to exclude? Yeah, I would think I would exclude people who fail to live up to the membership requirements. That would include coming to church regularly, believing in the core propositions, which we haven't really ironed out.
Yeah, well, we won't today.
So it
might be an interesting thing to come back to, though, if you want to think about it and say, maybe you can do an episode where Doug creates a religion and this is what it is. That would be interesting to me.
It would probably be a combination of Islam and Christianity as far as who I would exclude. But yeah, odds are there'd be more inclusion than exclusion on that system. But which is good, because I want a big empire in this religion, but you still need exclusion. So I think the excluders would sort themselves out. They would just, hey, I'm a maverick. I don't want to be a part of this. You guys are full of it. And boom, you got your excluder. So I don't even think I have to work that hard to figure out who to exclude. They will do it themselves.
Okay. Yeah, we should think about that more. It's All right. Well, that was a 7. I have a bonus one I thought of after all these that I'd like to talk to you about, but I don't know how much time you have today.
I got 10 minutes.
If anybody in the chat does. Okay, well, if 10 minutes, I'm going to use it.
Okay.
So this one is really it's actually 2 parts. But so the first thing I was curious about for you, other than this YouTube thing, and because I know your work history and stuff, but have you ever been in a position of sort of like power over a large group of people? So a large group, let's say 50 or more.
No.
We'll consider that large. You've never been like a boss or a manager or in a church where you were looked up as a powerful like person.
I've been self-employed as sole proprietor basically my whole life. I've never really. For 6 months I had an employer when I worked at for a pharmaceutical company where they extracted estrogen from horse urine. I worked there for 6 months. I was the taste tester. But
yes. Okay. The reason I ask is I kind of have been a couple different times in my life, and it really is a drug. They say power is a drug. Like it can corrupt you, or at least make you lean towards corruption, or it's addictive. It feels nice to some people anyway. So a lot of the people you talk to are pastors or they're apologists, and or people that are heads of, they have a flock of people.
Churches, pastors, yeah.
So do you how much of a role do you think that desire for power plays in their desire to be pastors or that sort of thing?
My answer is probably going to shock you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is a huge one.
Okay.
It definitely plays a part, but I'm thinking specifically the people I've talked to, I've interviewed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really think the guys like Mike Winger, Mike Brown, Khalil, the Muslim guy I talked to, even Greg Locke, the guy who was on Fox News, one of my first interviews.
He's on Fox News?
He was on
I remember
Fox News,
him, but I didn't know he was on Fox News. Okay.
And if these guys are watching, I want you to know that I truly think that you guys believe what you believe, do what you do as pastors or as apologists or whatever, because you really love Jesus. I think you really do. And I don't think it is a power issue for you guys. And but for some, like the Joel Osteens of the world, I think that is a high. Like when he steps on stage and the lights are on and the cameras are rolling, he feels the same adrenaline rush as rock stars. And that's addictive.
Yeah, for sure. All right, interesting. So let's say like 7 minutes. Let's do till 6 o'clock, or at 6 o'clock my time.
Yeah, I got to pick up the kids. I got to leave to pick up the kids in 7 minutes.
So maybe we can do like a quick fire if people in the comments want to throw some, like Logic Beats Speculation asks a good question. What would you tell your followers if they say they are losing their faith?
I would say that that's natural to have these doubts, and that I understand what they're going through because I went through the same thing, and that I'm there for them. Anytime, if it's in the middle of the night, give me a call. I'm there for you. And just remember one thing, my member who's doubting, that no matter what, there is this God out there who has 100% of your interest in mind. So your father failed you, your mother failed you, your relationship with your wife is rocky at times, your kids drive you up the wall, but listen, there is a God out there that loves you so deeply that he is focused on everything about you. Just remember that. I tell you, what I just said could make an atheist cry. When
the cold, heartless atheists, is that what
yeah, those cold-hearted atheists who are having a really rough time in their life, if just by using the right word pictures, and if you would have played some nice music in the background while I was saying that, like, you could tear up. Oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble.
No one compliments themselves more than you, Doug. No one I've ever met. You're nicer to yourself than anybody I've ever known, which is, I mean, it's a pretty good quality. I'm the opposite. It's actually something I'm working on, like being nicer to myself. So to see you're just like, I say wonderful shit all the time.
No. Okay, yes, you got me. That's a gotcha thing you just did.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But where I got that from, and some people here probably watched the video, like Darren Brown did an experiment with an atheist once where he basically did a word picture like I did and got the atheist into tears. And by the end of it, like, she was a deist. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else have a question they want to shoot at Doug in the last couple minutes? Otherwise, I think we'll...
Was there anything, if we scroll up?
Wrap it up. I kind of keeping one eye on it. I didn't see anything after
Wooden stuff is question. In tears.
I'm having my doubts on that. Wooden stuff, I consider that an extraordinary claim given the history of your comments.
Oh, Stroop made a great comment about, you asked about power and pastors.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think that's an issue, but I do believe what Stroop says is very true, that when you are paid, when your income is based on what your belief, that makes things really complicated.
Or
And
you're paying for an education, like a
yes, or you're
high
paying,
level degree
yeah.
in theology or something.
And this is
If
why
that's,
Scientology works. It's because it
yeah, yeah.
it would be a disaster for you to admit that you've wasted your life and wasted so much money on something. Like if a Christian pastor all of a sudden had doubts that Jesus rose from the dead after relooking at the evidence or whatever, that is going to hit him like a ton of bricks. Like, I've wasted my life. Sure, I help people here and there, but I could have helped them here and there as a non-Christian. Like, what do you do with that? Like, I really feel for people, especially pastors, who are having these doubts
Yeah.
and just feel they're stuck.
If anybody's watching this, what is there's a foundation for people, particularly pastors and that. It's what's
Clergy
the
Project.
organization? Yes, the Clergy Project. If there's any pastors out there that are doubting or just looking for people to talk to about issues they're having, there's a thing called the Clergy Project. There's people there to help you. You're not the first one. You won't be the last one. So,
By the way,
at least,
my
give it a
hypothesis
look.
is, this is a wild guess. I'm not making a claim. This is a guess hypothesis. But my guess is as high as 1 out of 10 churches are run by a pastor who really doesn't believe it. I mean, really doesn't believe what he's preaching.
Well,
I think it's that high.
yeah, and you mentioned money. I mean, the tax benefits in America of being a pastor, and the ways you can work the books in terms of your living accommodations and everything else are like, they're insane. They're really insane. Like, you can live you get in the right church, you can live a pretty good life saying things maybe you don't believe in. Which,
Yeah, there's no money in atheism. I just want people to know that.
oh yeah, yes, that's right.
So I do it for the love of it. I'm a true atheist. In fact, you know what? I as small as my YouTube channel is, like,
Yeah.
and as insignificant as a person that I am, I know you love me, Chet, but if I was to become a born again believer, and with the amount of content I already have on my channel that I could look back upon and say, look, this is me. I have proof. This is me, what I used to be like. Now look at me, how my life is transformed. I could make some good coin, but I won't because I have morals. I'm not going to be a charlatan. Was that too much? Did I go too far?
No, I was just trying to think of it, how I would feel if you did that. That's all. I was just making it about me for a second there.
You could be
like
my
just
deacon.
trying to imagine you. I already know if we had met 10 years ago, like I said, with where I was at mentally, which I'm a different person now, and where you were at though, we would have not gotten along at all. We wouldn't have been friends at all just based on religious based stuff,
Yeah.
And yeah, it would have been bad. Isn't that strange?
It is strange.
It's strange. Like, if you just start to think about something differently, you can become really good friends. For people that don't know, me and Doug met on Blab, what, a year and a half ago or so?
Yeah, it's about that.
Somewhere in there. After not knowing each other at all, and just met by talking with believers about different things on there, and then just talking about life in general and stuff. And we've been good friends ever since then. And for anybody else who doesn't know, I'm the same Chet that's an asshole in the comments in most of Doug's videos to both atheists and believers alike, because I like bugging all of you.
But imagine a very conservative, fundamental Christian who's now meeting people like Chet here. And if anybody knows anything about Chet, he's quite the guy.
What's that mean? What does that mean?
I have to go. I got to go pick up the kids.
Yeah, okay.
But the point is, my mind was blown. Yeah. Even as a young fledgling atheist, I was like, whoa. Too much information.
We've helped. The Doug you see today is a product of many hours of coaching by myself and other people that have dedicated their time to turning him into a real human being.
I'm Chet's spawn child. Yeah,
So,
I was
all
created
right,
by
man.
Chet Fission.
Oh,
Okay, thanks guys. I
all
gotta
right,
run.
man. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Doug.
Take
We'll
care.
see you around.